Welcome to Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, the place for you to break free from the norm and celebrate your life, because what we believe in our hearts becomes our reality. This is Magical Moments with Alena Chapman.
Welcome to Magical Moments for that ease and betterment in your life. I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and I'm so happy you are here because we have a fantastic show for you, a very interesting show this time. So I also want to bring in the magical nugget. And I have been thinking this week, big time, because I have been so busy. And I started to think, wait a minute. This busyness. We're always so busy. And what does that do for us? I mean, seriously, what does it do? Do you feel like you accomplished 3 times more? I didn't. I just felt like this is crazy. I'm chasing my tail. I got to stop. And I did. But how many times do we not stop? And I'm not just talking about busyness with everything that's going on, because sometimes, your schedule does go crazy. Mine did. On Monday, I swear, I had it all set. You have the meetings in the morning, do writing in the afternoon, have the classes at night. You're set. It's go. And then, bam, something happens. And the dog had to go to the emergency. So we got to now we're doing the meetings in the car as we're trying to get the dog to the emergency. We sit in the emergency for 3 hours and we're all tired out for the classes. Things happen. But that is not every day. And even when that happens, how do you keep your sanity? I'm also talking about that busyness in the mind. Because even when we're not busy, our mind is going 100 miles per hour in the future. I got to pick up the kids. I got to do this. Oh, that thing at work, I got to take care of that. Oh my gosh, I got to call so-and-so about this. This is what happens. When we have all that busyness, always, you've heard me say, divinity can only touch you in the present. It can only help you in the present. And really, what does that mean? That means being in the moment that you're in. So let's take my crazy, chaotic day. I'll use that one because that happens to everyone. So you're in the meetings, you have to make a fast decision. Make the decision, but then stay in the moment of it. When I'm going up to the hospital, I'm thinking about the dog. I'm thinking about the present moment that I am in. When I'm on the meeting and the dog, I'm taking care of only 2 things. I'm not thinking about the grocery list. I'm not thinking about, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm just taking it to the task, and I'm staying in the moment. Believe it or not, staying in the moment made that chaotic day turn into a day where my dog feels like I'm his best friend now. Everything stayed very organized and I stayed calm. It's staying in the moment. And the moment means unbusying the mind. And when we unbusy the mind, then the things we're doing during the day have more meaning, build more relationships, have a clearer vision, and is so much more fun. Because you see the specialness of each moment. You see the look in someone's eye. You see how vibrant the plants are. You actually hear the birds sing. You actually smell the coffee in the morning and think, that is awesome. When you stay in the moment, even when it's really busy, you start to notice the beauty of the moment. And that's when your life starts to change. All right. That's it for that. Have a good time this week doing that. That should be fun. Now, I have a very good friend and a beautiful person coming on today. Her name is Wendy Darling. She is co-founder of Go the Distance Consulting and Miraculous Living Institute, which is a personal and professional growth organization offering executive and team development, also keynote speaking, seminars, retreats, and private coaching. She really is awesome, guys. She's recognized as an expert on navigating change and achieving your desired results. And she has a secret weapon we're going to talk about. She has this transformational system called Miraculous Living Method TM. And it's a vehicle for achieving those results with greater ease and speed, just like we like ease and betterment. Wendy has over 37 years of an experience as a management and organizational development consultant, business and life transformation expert, master healing practitioner, manager, and executive entrepreneur, radio show host, love it, and keynote speaker. On top of that, she has also been on Forbes and other publications, also as a guest on numerous TV shows, podcasts, and radio, and she is a #1 best-selling author of The Miracle That Is Your Life. And with that, I would like to bring on Wendy Darling. Hello, Wendy.
Hello, Alena. It's wonderful to be with you.
It is wonderful to be with you always, my dear. Hey, I love it. Now, I just read this magnificent bio. You have had so much experience and been around for such a time. You're definitely someone who stays and goes the course. But I also have worked with you, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit, and I'm going to dig right in, to tell you the truth. You have this wonderful sense for healing. #1, you and I both know, and I'll have you speak on this because we got to warm everybody up to this. When things are going wrong on the outside of us, meaning our environment, our work, our kids, whatever, there is something going wrong on the inside of us, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So if our kid is suddenly acting one way, it's usually because of something that's going inside of us, correct?
Partially correct.
Okay.
Yes. What the difference is it's not like we are totally influencing and impacting another individual. However, how we respond to that.
Yes.
So if your child, for example, is having a bad hair day, they're upset about something that happened at school, we can create a position and an environment to allow your child to relax more into what actually occurred and help them shift. So it's not like we're totally 100% responsible for what happened outside, but how we respond to it
exactly
can make a very significant difference.
And by our responding, we actually change the situation by our response.
That's correct.
That's very cool. All right. So with this, when we are having trouble in our business, or when we're having trouble in meeting that special someone in our life, or we're in that relationship with that someone in our life, and we can't seem to make it, sometimes we have to look within ourselves. And sometimes there's healing that has to take place before we can move forward. Am I correct or no?
You're absolutely correct with that.
Okay.
If we're hitting an obstacle, if we're hitting a wall, so to speak, and we can't get past it. So let's start with, in work. Let's say if you're a business owner or even working within an organization and things aren't working out and there seems to be, you're feeling stressed. Well, there are ways that we can shift that so that your inner world is at peace. And I've worked with a lot of professionals. A client just recently who actually hired me to attract love into her life. She was an executive in an organization, took a new position, and just walked into a hornet's nest. And by the way, she took a position. She had been working in Canada and moved back to her homeland of Australia. So this was not a tiny move.
No.
And so even though our first focus was attracting love, I helped her navigate working with her new boss, who was just a horrific example of what not to do in an organization.
Wow.
And we really focused on shifting the environment so that she could navigate it more effectively. Now, what ended up happening in this situation because I even said to her, well, if something happened that your boss found a new position or had to leave, all the better. But we were just focusing on really bringing more love into the work environment. And interestingly enough, her boss actually did leave. I believe she was let go.
Amazing. Wow.
And then a new interim boss came in and was later positioned to the position. And he was equally as bad. It was a very toxic work environment. And so my client actually chose to leave. And by the way, she chose to leave because she was already in relationship with her sweet, wonderful man. They're engaged now, and they'll be married this summer, which is really wonderful.
That is wonderful. So she found her love.
She did find her love. And now they've actually decided to start their own consulting organization. And what the goal is, even out of this scenario, is this woman had been with her previous company for over 20 years. So she's an engineer. She oversaw 250 engineers. So you're talking about somebody who was really highly skilled.
Right, right. But she just didn't like the environment.
She got to see contrast. Her previous position and company was more collaborative. It was a healthier work environment, and she got to unfortunately or fortunately experience all the things that you shouldn't do in an organization.
Contrast, yeah.
So now they have an opportunity to leverage that with other companies.
It's very interesting, which is a different question, but it's very true. Sometimes when we are offered that contrast, I think, in our life, saying, such as moving to a place and having everything that you know is wrong happen, that's a contrast. Sometimes that is to spur us into change. And
yeah, absolutely.
And it's a challenge, and especially when it keeps up, no matter what you're doing, it's time for a change. It's time to being open for that change. And it's always a good change.
Yeah, and I think it's just an opportunity to look at what am I supposed to be learning from this experience? What can I do to either shift what's happening or what's going on that I need to look at maybe a little differently? And like what you said, Alena, also, am I being redirected in a different direction?
Exactly. Sometimes it's not even a big one, but it is a different direction.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I want to get back now to this healing inside, because we are funny animals. A lot of times we just think we have to trudge on through. If the marriage failed and he was not a good man, we say, oh, he was just a horrible man. This is a woman. And it can be vice versa, too. A man who married a woman, oh, she's just horrid. And they go off and then they get into a new relationship just to find that they ended up with the exact same thing. Same with jobs and careers. Or people move. They say you can't. You always have yourself. So if you move from one town to another to get away from stuff, you find you have the same problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this healing inside can take a heck of a lot of work. And sometimes, even with all that work, you still find that resistance. What's going on, Wendy?
First of all, we have a very sophisticated internal system. We have a mind that works just like a computer, or computers represent kind of how our minds work. And every experience that we have, literally from the time of conception until present time, is recorded in our mind, our heart, and our bodies, in our cells. And what's beautiful about this is we have learned so much about this over the years. When I first started out in my career, my very first job was a sixth grade teacher, and then I went back to college and got a couple of graduate degrees in counseling psychology and organizational development. But back in those days, everything was very intentional. We worked a lot with the mind and what we could recall. And, excuse me.
That's okay.
And so, because of that, we did as much as we could with our conscious mind and memory, but it wasn't enough.
Yes.
And what the beautiful part of life today is we know so much more. I had a very significant event many years ago. It was in 1990. I was a corporate consultant. I was traveling from Texas to L.A., and I was very, very sick. Back then, I was a workaholic, and I'm in recovery now. And
good for you. That's good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's very good.
Well, this was a huge life lesson for me in so many ways. And yet, even though I was terribly sick to my stomach and, I was
Sure.
horribly sick, I was still, the show must go on. I had a lot of people waiting for me in L.A., and so I'm at the Dallas airport. I go outside to get some fresh air before my plane leaves. And remember, this is 1990, so we didn't have some of the restrictions back there that we have today.
Right.
And I went outside to get some fresh air, and I ended up passing out.
Oh, my gosh.
And I fell over a ledge, and I fell over 25 feet.
25 feet?
Yep.
Wow.
So the good news is I landed apparently on my right leg, and my right leg was shattered. I had some back fractures. It took multiple surgeries and 11 months before I knew if I would walk again, which I do. I was later diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury that took a very long time to recover from. Some kind of teased me, and it's questionable to what extent, but that's okay. And I do have some minor challenges today, but I'm very blessed.
Yes,
and if that wasn't enough, while I was in the hospital the first time I was in the hospital about a month, and my former husband came, suitcases packed, saying he no longer wished to be married.
What awful timing. Oh, my gosh.
And,
that's terrible.
And I take my fair share of the responsibility for our marriage being that vulnerable.
Yeah.
However, like you said, the timing wasn't exactly optimal.
No.
And then if that was not enough, when we went to court, he happens to be an attorney, and he was awarded full custody of our son, who was only 4.5.
Well, yes. Oh, isn't that awful? But because of everything that happened to you, that's awful. That's awful.
So I was living in a total whiteboard, meaning anything that I had previously, felt was part of my identity was no longer in existence.
Everything, everything was erased.
As a consultant, everything, even my physicality. And so I had a lot of time to contemplate my navel, so to speak. And at some point, especially after I lost custody of my son, my mom was the one that suggested that I might want to learn how to meditate. And and at that time, quieting my mind was a complete oxymoron.
Yeah, I remember. Mine too. Yeah. I thought the same thing.
So to kind of cliff note it, I went to somebody to learn how to meditate, and I don't remember the duration of time, but I remembered saying to him, every time my mind feels like it's going to relax, I get this urge to sing. And he looks at me and he goes, well, sing. And I started laughing. I said, you don't understand.
Right.
I actually have people in my life that request I not do that. And so he just kind of looked at me and he said, just do it. So I went, we were practicing meditation in someone's home. So I go back to my little corner of the house, and I allowed this sound, this singing, to come out of me. And Alena, for the first time in such a long time, not only did my mind begin to relax, but so did my body. And
amazing.
I, little by little, just kept working with this. It was such a relief. And then little by little, I discovered there was way more to this than I even recognized at that time. Now, I want you to know that I was a very traditional person living a very traditional life.
Right.
And suddenly, I was discovering that I could see energy. I was discovering
right.
that this healing work that came through me could impact other people in a very similar way. And today, it's all been developed in what I now call the miraculous living method, where I can help you find anything that is interfering, holding you back from having the life you truly desire. And I say this very humbly, but I have seen so many miraculous experiences that people are now living, from working with women who have been abused, to attracting love in their life, to helping entrepreneurs, business owners make lots more money because I'm able to remove the barriers that limit what I call their financial set point. To working with children with learning disabilities. I've actually worked with some people with health concerns. And, you know, the list just keeps going on and on. And so for a long time, though, I was not wanting to share this because it was like,
it's
what
different.
the heck is happening to me?
Yeah, it's totally weird, right?
But I have to say, at some point, I thought, oh my gosh, I have for some reason been given this gift from the heavens, and who am I not to share it? And so
it's you have a miraculous gift. I know that because I've personally experienced it myself. Do you think, you had to have? It's funny. I think it's so funny. I think sometimes when we are living a way that we call normal or is not really for us, I really do think there is some force, the universe or whatever, that says, wait a minute, you're not here for this. This is not what you signed up for. This is not your gift. We've got to mix this up. And sometimes it's drastic. And those that understand that and say, okay, I have a blank slate, I am starting all over, and I'm recreating. Everything I know is gone. Some people crumble with that. But others say, okay, what's next? And they start to, I did that too, Wendy. I had to look into things, find answers, find why. And when you do that, the universe guides you into where you're really supposed to be, where your soul is learning what it's supposed to learn.
That's absolutely true. And, I think the more we understand that, the easier life becomes. I am not a doing machine any longer. I am not a workaholic, but I'm in a very natural flow of life. And I have to say, when things are not quite working out, that I feel like I've hit a wall, I hit a wall last year, and I was like, what's going on? And I realized I was trying to head in a direction other than where I needed to be heading. That's not to say I am eliminating the other, but my entry point, my primary focus now is certifying coaches in my miraculous living method. And
fantastic.
Because I developed my certification program a couple years ago, and I hadn't been doing as much with it. And then my consulting work wasn't evolving quite as naturally as
you wanted it to.
I would have expected it to. Mm-hmm.
Right.
But as soon as I went, I think I'm getting the communication, things began to open up again. And so I think it's just really important to always take a little time out to look at, first of all, what's your true heart's desires?
Yes.
Because I believe those desires of your heart really are your truth. And in my
They're
world,
from your soul.
I believe that God has placed those desires in our heart, kind of like a carrot dangling in front of us,
Right.
so that we evolve into the people that we're intended to be,
Right.
to make our special mark and contribution, whatever that might be. It doesn't mean we become presidents of the United States.
No.
Not that I would want that
I
job.
don't think I want that job.
But my point is, it could just be who you want to be for your family, or your
Right.
friends.
What kind of
Or it
person
could
do
be
you
how
want to be? Yeah.
That's right. Because we've all met people who have been wildly successful, but yet they're not happy, and they don't really seem to be good people. And yet, I've met people, we recently just went to Mexico, and there were people there that I knew they were not being paid hardly anything, but they were happy and they were of service, and it was phenomenal. And I had such appreciation for the fact that they saw and they were experiencing, the blessings of life.
And
so
when we are in this, we measure success all the time by how much money we have, how many really cute cars we have, what kind of home we live in. That is a man-made fallacy of success. And I have met people who are so rich and so miserable. And I've met people who are so incredibly rich and live life to the fullest and are the most generous, loving people I've ever met. It all doesn't matter. There's not one type. And I think what we have to stop, we've got to get off that wheel. We've got to get off that. Number one, that's what's creating so much anxiety. And if we can just say, wait a minute, is this the way I really want to be? Do I have to be the richest person? Do I have to buy that car to show off? Usually when we buy a car, it's not always for us. Let's be real, folks. And it's very true. We have to start thinking to ourselves, what's going to shine my light? What's going to make me be the best person I want to be? What characteristics do I really want to have in myself? Do I want to be this selfish person? Do I want to be this person who gets upset easily? Do I want to be this person who is anxious all the time, or can't stay on a topic, or is fake to my friends? What do I want to be? And I think the universe will shake us up because we are living so much in a false reality. This is special, guys, because now we're going to open up to this gift that she has that I love. So come right back. This is Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman.
You're listening to Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, helping you find your inner purpose. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Welcome back to Magical Moments for that ease and betterment in your life. And I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and we're here with Wendy Darling. Wendy, I have to say, I have worked with you. And the singing that you have developed, it's just not normal singing. I mean, let's be straight. And I'll tell you, when you did that singing thing with me, the vibrations and there's just this energy that flowed through me. I can feel it. I felt it. And it's like you don't ever want it to stop. You really don't, because it feels so good, and you feel like things are just getting in order, and you feel this massive amount of love. Can you said you started to develop this, but can you tell what you're really doing? Tell everyone what you're really doing.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, so it's not like I walk around doing this. I'm
on every street corner,
on and off. Yeah, well, and also because I really am able to tap into your body, your energy field. That would be very invasive if I walked around doing that. I've actually known people that do that.
No, that's not good.
They suddenly say, well, blah, 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 and I'm like, I never gave you permission for that. So I'm very respectful of that personally. And so when I work with somebody, I open that up and I close my eyes. And you have to understand, I'm going to explain it as best as I can, but I don't even, as much as I know what's happening, I can't fully explain what's happening. And what I love about that piece, and I'm going to explain in just one second, but what I love to share is that we don't always have to figure everything out.
No.
And
that's right.
And that is a gift in itself. So what happens is we get quiet, I get into that space, I close my eyes, and I can see your energy. Now, because of my brain injury, I'm very challenged to see internally in color. Every now and then I'll have a dream, I'll wake up and that was in color, and I get so excited. So I will see your energy kind of like an X-ray in black and white and shades of gray. And I can see where there is like a clog, it's clumped in your system. And so when you think of your system having to flow, if you have these blocks internally, you're not able to do things as well. You're not able to experience life as well. And over time, it can also impact your health. And so it's very interesting. And I don't believe it's me doing it. I believe I open up and God works through me.
I like that. There's a lot to this. Do you know in the Tao, all right, Lao Tzu, the practice of Taoism, they actually have a meditation where you see the white light come in through the crown, and as it moves through your system, as you close your eyes and you're in a meditative state, when you hit a block. So they do believe there are blocks in the system, but they have then you can disperse it. But there's definitely this, it makes sense, Wendy, because we take, like we said, we take every experience in, we process it, and we hold it. We actually hold it in our muscles, we hold it in our cells, we hold it in our memory, we hold it in our heart. We actually hold all the feelings of it. And that's what creates the blocks, correct?
Correct. And so what I love, at some point in time, I got introduced to Dr. David Hawkins' body of work. He wrote a book called Power versus Force. And I got to be honest, I never read the whole book. It's one of my, I'm very good at reading partial books. But what I loved about his body of work is he did a 30-year study where he was, I don't remember in this moment how many thousands of people he worked with, but eventually he was able to create a frequency scale, meaning he was able to translate emotions and their frequency. So, for example,
very cool.
If you're angry, it's actually a very low-level emotion. And then it scales up to frustration, to happiness, to joy. Love is the highest frequency that we can experience. Actually, in his scale, he has a scale of enlightenment. I just keep it at love. And
it's interesting. I want to read that book. That's a book I have not read, and I do want to read. I'm interested in seeing where, sadness must be a lower vibration than anger.
Oh, it's at a lower vibration. But what was most significant in what I took away from his body of work is that if we come from a place of love, we are able to literally overcome the lower levels of energy and transform the lower levels of energy. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but when you are operating from a place of love, you can impact thousands and thousands of people in your environment.
Yes.
And I have exercises that I demonstrate in the talks that I do that demonstrate just that, where we look at love and hate and the effects that people in the audience have on on a willing subject to demonstrate what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, science has done a lot. You can see, my gosh, you can see water change shape by the energy you put on it. You can see a plant change. You know,
that's right.
Human being too, and an animal, a dog. You can see how a dog changes. It's just they feel your vibration more than they hear your words.
That's right. And actually, we do too.
We do.
We're just not as sensitive to it consciously. But who hasn't walked into a room and, you know, it's like, wow. Or you're talking to somebody and you get uplifted because they're so optimistic and they're full of love. And who hasn't talked to somebody who's having a bad hair day and they're just complaining and you can just feel the life being sucked out?
Yeah, you can feel the life being sucked out. Well, also text. You know, text. Remember when text came out the first time and people were like, they were misinterpreting the text because there was no feeling with the words.
That's
and they couldn't understand where you're coming from. They couldn't feel it.
Yeah, that's a bugaboo of mine, and I text, but I refuse to have important conversations
through a text,
through texting or emails, just because you risk misinterpretation.
Yes,
and
there's no feeling, there's no emotion, there's no vibration.
For example, I teach kids. You know, I have spoken at leadership conferences and in schools, and this thing called bullying.
Yes.
I teach kids that those kids that are bullies, and we can just also lap that on to adults. Those are people whose love wells are very low. Yes. And more than likely, their hearts have been stomped on in their life. And this is the only way they have found that they can survive.
Yes, I know.
And I teach kids, all they have to do is to send love. They can literally sit in a classroom and send classmates love.
You know, this is true.
To know that they're doing it.
And I know people out there going, oh, yeah, really. But no. I have my own
really
personal
true.
experience with that. Yeah. And I feel that it was the love I sent to an enemy of mine that actually, now it took time, but every day I sent love, every darn day. And then all of a sudden it made that person call me and say, Alena, let's try to do this and work in cooperation. Out of the blue, we feel it.
This is what I helped my client do in that toxic work environment. I had her sit in her office first, fill herself up with love, and there's ways that I teach that, and then send it out to her boss, to their group. And I said, you might be there as a person to help turn this organization around. So there really are ways that we can shift it that can be extremely effective. And then we can get very specific, too. You know, if you have financial concerns, well, that's a program running through your brain that we can shift. I'm able to find, so we don't even have to find what happened or what's wrong anymore. We just need to create the scenario of what you want to experience. And through my sound healing work, they create a very unique circuitry so that when you say, let's say, I feel safe, that's a very basic statement.
Right.
But anything that does not, within your internal world, that does not feel safe, will absorb the healing frequency. And it's not like it's pulled out. It's just melted away. It loses its charge. It loses its hold.
It just sort of disperses, doesn't it? It just kind of, it melts away. It just
transforms.
It just transforms. Exactly.
It just transforms. And so as a result, that's why I'll see people suddenly start making more money, or they attract love, or their marriages improve, because in a relationship, we're able to melt away the dynamic that's existing that has become destructive. And when that
makes
happens,
total sense. Yeah,
I've seen relationships be restored. I have to admit, I've seen a couple that they see that they've grown too far apart and they feel that it's time to complete. That's not my decision.
Right.
But I help people get back to their true self, and live the life that they want to be living.
If you really think about it, and I'm putting a scientific flair on it, if you add up everything, because, you sing, vibration comes out and heals me. And you think, that's what some people think. But think about it. If we have this vibration in our sound when we are happy and praising something and loving it, and it grows beautifully. The dog loves you. The other person adores you when you walk in the room and you're happy. And then when you're mad or angry and you keep that up, it changes water to something else. It changes the dog to behave, to cower from you. It changes. You are giving off a vibration. Then why would it be so far-fetched to have someone open up and the sounds that they are making? In fact, one of the most basic mantras is Om. And when you say Om in a meditation, it's not the sound, it's not the word. It's the actual vibration that can transcend you in a meditation. So we believe all that, maybe. I do, but I don't know about everyone else. But yes, it does happen. Then why is it that someone who is putting that energy forward in this love and this voice that has, Wendy has a voice. She does. But what it is it's the vibration behind it that comes through. You can actually feel it. That goes in and you can feel the changes is happening inside you. Vibration moves things. It's really very scientific more than it is mystical.
Well, and not only that, what I have to say I love is that it's very simple.
It is.
And one of the things I've always wanted to achieve in the work that I do, regardless if it's in the corporate space, in the personal growth arena, is I like to simplify things.
Me too.
I think we make things too difficult.
I agree totally. It's not that hard.
We tend to be too hard on ourselves.
Yes.
And so I bring a gentleness into how people live their lives and do work. And I think the more we can be that way, actually the more satisfied and fulfilled we will be. And we will have a gentler way of living life. And we can help calm so much of the chaos that exists in our world today.
And when we start living with that less chaos, with that calmness, then the world will change. Mm-hmm. Because that's what we need. That is the vibration we'll be putting out. That's what we'll be expecting to get in return. We won't accept anything else.
And I want to bring it back to the example that I made of David Hawkins' body of work. One person really can make a difference. You may not be changing the whole world, but you can change the dynamic in your family or your work environment or with a friend, just as you brought out with somebody who was not treating you in a very effective way.
Right.
And so we just need to begin.
And that person then goes and says, oh my gosh, this feels good. And they do it to another person. The chain reaction keeps going. It doesn't stop with just you. You can affect by one person that you show love or you start opening to, then the next person, that leads to that person doing it to someone else, and it's contagious. You can help hundreds in one day. Actually, hundreds.
Thousands.
Yes.
No, actually thousands.
Okay, thousands in one day. I like that even better.
Yeah.
See, I think we discount. And this work of vibration, we're just starting to really understand vibration. And vibration is big. It is so big. It's everything. It truly is everything. And
well, I think what's just important is if one simple thing, if you can live more in your heart and come from a place of love, that can make a very significant impact for yourself personally, and then from there to spread that, even unintentionally.
Right.
It has a very natural, organic ripple effect.
Maybe
so it's
for people who, let's face it, a lot of people don't live with love. I mean, they have the love for their spouse or for their kids, but out in the world, no. They just don't. Right. How many can say they really love everybody? I mean, really love with an unconditional kind of love, at least an acceptance of everybody they work with or they see on the street, or really. So how do we start to open up to that?
Yeah, that's really important, because a lot of times we have been taught to reach out, to give. Women especially are just these natural givers.
Give, but not love.
Solitary person. Well, every single solitary person I've ever worked with the exception of one, is blocked to be open to receive. So one of the things that happens that really contributes to what we call burnout or exhaustion or frustration is we have not learned how to be more cyclical with bringing love into our life, finding ways to nourish ourselves.
Yes.
And so that receiver piece is also very critical, because if you're blocking, you're thinking you're doing all the right things, right?
Right.
But things aren't happening. Typically, that's symptomatic that you're also not allowing to receive. I believe God in the universe is always guiding us and wanting the best for each and every person that exists.
I do too.
If it's not happening, there is a block preventing that from happening.
People could do a simple test. And I see this more with women, because we are a natural give, and we've been taught not to receive so much, to always sacrifice, and then we get resentful. But just kind of observe yourself this week. See, like for instance, somebody gives you something and you say, "Oh, thank you so much. This is beautiful." Or do you say, "Oh, no, I don't need that right now." Or someone says they're going to take, "Listen, you're tired, go home." No, I'm going to stay. "But I can take care of it." No, I can do it. That's blocked.
Right. Or, "I love that dress that you're wearing." "Oh, this old thing."
Yes. We don't receive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good test for you to look at. If you're not receiving, I think people have to understand the receiving and the giving goes hand in hand. You can't give, because then you just run dry. And also the universe, it works cyclically. It's always a circle. If you receive and you give and you receive and you give, then all of a sudden you'll always be receiving, and you will always be fulfilling a wonderful gift of giving to other people that need it. But if you block one or the other, you won't. It'll stop. Yes.
You don't have to rely on it being another human being to give to you.
That's right.
There are ways that you can open up and allow to be replenished energetically. And now, the other thing, too, is one of the things I teach people who are more empathic, they feel things, they're more sensitive. If that's somebody, one of your listeners, it's important for you to learn how to shield yourself from certain energies penetrating you.
Right, I agree.
But once you shield yourself, you can allow the heavens to wash you in divine love. And these words may sound rather different to some people. But remember, I came from a very traditional background, but I have now been able to learn such an easier, gentler way of living life. It's very rare that you'll see me get frustrated. I do. It's very rare that you'll see me get angry. I have. But
we're human. I get angry once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're human.
we have a whole range of emotions.
We have to.
And they're there for a reason.
And who wants to not have emotion? I mean, truly. It's a human, that's what helps us experience. That's what helps us know we don't want that experience, or we do.
By the way, I'm glad I happened to say that, because it really is important. If you are angry, allow yourself to feel it. As soon as we feel it, it can run its course and be released. But if we try to squash it, that's where the trouble begins.
That's where the blocks were formed.
As you know, Alena, I had to put my sweet little dog down in December.
Yeah,
that was such a sad, sad time for me. And I allowed myself to grieve. And when we allow ourselves to feel whatever feeling it is, then it can run its course. Now, that's a pretty extreme example, but at the same time, by allowing myself to feel that, and there are still moments where I get those pangs or those heartaches. It's not as extreme, but we have to be okay with feeling whatever feelings. I can remember when I lost custody of my son, I was a mess. Something snapped in me.
Right.
And it took a very, very long time to recover from. And I cried like I had never cried. And I can remember one of my friends saying, "You are just the best crier. I wish I could cry like that." And I'm like, what, I'm supposed to be flattered again?
Yeah. But it's true. You're processing. You're letting it out so it doesn't pollute every cell in your body.
That's exactly right.
Wendy?
And I do believe the more authentic we can be with ourselves and our feelings, the healthier we can be. I actually think that the obesity epidemic that we're seeing in our world is not just an addiction to certain foods. It's trying to repress the anger, the frustration, the sadness.
Fill a void.
And it's like, have you ever held a beach ball? You know, it's very light. But if that beach ball represents an emotion, to try to keep it down it takes a lot of energy.
It does.
And a lot of people eat a lot of food to keep that emotion down.
It does. If people want to get hold of you, Wendy, how can they do this?
Well, it's very easy. They can just email me. First of all, they can go to my website, which is wendydarling.com. Wendy with a Y, darling.com. Or email me, wendy@wendydarling.com.
That couldn't be more simple than that. I love it. And everyone out there, so it really is, open a little and just think, maybe this vibration thing has something. It makes sense. Maybe look up some science reports, look up things, and start to do what I do. I get curious, and oh my gosh, I'm always looking at something to learn. So get curious, start to learn more. But the things we talked about today, the busyness, quieting the mind more, and really, really, really showing kindness. These kinds of principles are what we're discussing a lot on also the Green Terra discussion group. If you go to soulmanifesto.com, that's a free group I'm offering. We're going to start meeting actually this week. And we are talking about higher concepts like this vibration thing, like how does it blocks in our body. This is important stuff. So go to soulmanifesto.com. It's right on the front page. And just go ahead and sign up for that free Terra Green discussion group. And if you want to talk to me or you have questions about this, because this is a big subject, go ahead and send it to info at soulmanifesto.com. Very easy. info@soulmanifesto.com. Guys, we're always evolving. And isn't it more fun to evolve and grow and see progress and love and really getting where we can love so freely and be ourselves in every area? That's what life is about. Thank you, Wendy, and everyone out there. Stay connected to yourself, that beautiful part of you, and the universe. It's there, it's alive, and to everyone around you, make it an experience. Namaste.
This has been Magical Moments with Alena, featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, CastBox, Deezer, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.